When someone dials 911, it's a desperate cry for help, a call made in fear, hoping someone will arrive in time. But some calls don't end with rescue. Instead, they capture the final words of people moments before their deaths. Voices filled with panic, confusion, and the silence that follows. In this video, we'll uncover 5 of the most disturbing 911 calls ever recorded. Real calls that reveal the haunting truth of what happened just before it was too late. It was August 24, 2019 in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Deborah Stevens, a 47-year-old woman, was out on her early morning newspaper route for the Southwest Times-Record. She had been doing this same job for 21 years and knew every turn by heart. But that morning, something went horribly wrong. Deborah was known for her kindness and dedication. Besides her paper route, she helped teach preschool ministry at Eastside Baptist Church, working with her mother for over 15 years. She also volunteered for local campaigns and was seen as a selfless woman who cared deeply for her community. Around 4:30 in the morning, Deborah was driving through heavy rain when she came across floodwaters on the road. In the dark, she couldn't tell how deep it was. Within moments, her SUV was swept off the road and trapped among trees as the water rose fast. Panicking, she first called a relative, then at 4:38 a.m. dialed 911. On the other end was dispatcher Donna Renault, who, unknown to Deborah, was on her final shift after resigning 2 weeks earlier. Renault had worked with the Fort Smith Police Department since 2013 and had even been praised for her professionalism in the past. But what happened next shocked everyone. Deborah told Renault she was trapped and terrified as water filled her car. She said she couldn't swim and begged for help. Renault told her that help was on the way, but as the minutes passed, her tone became cold and impatient. When Deborah cried that she was scared, Renault told her, "You're not going to die. You freaking out is doing nothing but losing your oxygen. Calm down." Deborah tried to explain she hadn't seen the water in the dark. Renault replied, "This will teach you next time, don't drive in the water." As Deborah's car filled up, she said she saw people nearby, but they weren't helping. Renault told her they wouldn't risk their lives because you put yourself in danger. When Deborah said she needed to vomit, Renault responded, "You're in water, you can throw up, it's not going to matter." The water rose higher. Deborah asked Renault to pray with her. Instead, Renault said, "You go ahead and start off the prayer." Deborah began to pray, crying for help. Meanwhile, emergency teams were overwhelmed. There were only 4 dispatchers and 9 officers on duty as the city faced widespread flooding. Renault relayed Deborah's location to rescuers, but confusion and dangerous water levels slowed them down. 18 minutes into the call, Renault, frustrated, said, "Miss Debbie, you're going to have to shut up. Can you honk your horn?" But Deborah's car had lost all power. The water kept rising until Deborah screamed that her SUV was moving. Then silence. Renault called her name, no response. The call ended at 5 a.m. Rescuers arrived minutes later but couldn't reach the vehicle due to the strong current. A rescue boat finally reached the car at 5:58 a.m., pulling Deborah out and performing CPR, but she had already passed away. When the 911 recording was released 5 days later, it caused national outrage. Many were disturbed by Renault's lack of empathy. The police department launched an investigation. Interim Chief Danny Baker said he understood why people were upset, calling the call disturbing. But the investigation found no criminal wrongdoing. Renault had followed technical procedure, and emergency crews had been sent immediately. They simply couldn't reach Deborah in time. By the time the review ended, Renault had already left her position and faced no charges. Deborah's church set up a memorial fund for her funeral. Pastor Matt Bonnet said she had loved every child she worked with, and that her life should be remembered for her kindness. City Director Neil Martin, who knew her personally, called her a true servant to others. Deborah's passing led to public discussion about dispatcher training and emergency response systems during natural disasters. In December 2019, officials announced that no criminal charges would be filed. Deborah Stevens, a woman who had spent her life serving others, lost her life that morning alone in the flood while waiting for help that never came. It was January 1st, 2008 in Irving, Texas. 18-year-old Amina Saeed and her 17-year-old sister Sarah were found fatally shot inside their father's taxi in the parking lot of the Omni Mandalay Hotel. The sisters had lived for years under the control of their father, Yasser Abdel Saeed, and that night their fear became reality. In her final moments, Sarah managed to call 911, identifying her attacker. To understand how it came to this, we need to go back. In 1987, 15-year-old Patricia Owens met 30-year-old Yaser, an Egyptian immigrant who worked at a convenience store in Texas. Within weeks, he proposed, convincing Patricia's parents he could provide for her. They married soon after, and by age 16, Patricia had their first child, Islam. Amina was born in 1989 and Sarah in 1990. The happy life Yasser promised never happened. Patricia said he was violent and controlling, often hurting her several times a week. He isolated her from her family, threatened her relatives, and constantly carried a gun. In 1998, when Amina was 9 and Sarah was 8, they told their grandmother Yasser had mistreated them. He was charged, but before trial the girls changed their statements, saying they made it up. Patricia believed Yasser had scared them into recanting. Against her family's advice, she returned to him, a decision she later called her biggest regret. As the girls became teenagers, Yasser's control grew worse. He followed them secretly, filmed their activities, and recorded their conversations. He forbade them from dating, but both began secret relationships. Amina with a boy named Joseph Moreno, and Sarah with Eric Panameno. Yasser found notes Amina wrote to Moreno and became suspicious. Moreno later said Yasser threatened Amina's life multiple times. Amina planned to run away and marry Moreno in Las Vegas, but fear of her father's reaction held her back. Yasser's strict rules and surveillance made daily life unbearable. Sarah faced similar restrictions. When she worked at a convenience store, he would film her there and punish her for smiling at customers. In December 2007, Amina emailed her teacher saying Yasser planned to arrange her marriage soon and that she feared for her life. She said her family was planning to escape before the school break ended. On Christmas Eve, Yasser discovered both daughters had been dating. Furious, he threatened them with a gun. Patricia, terrified, fled with Amina, Sarah, and their boyfriends to Tulsa, Oklahoma. They found an apartment and started new jobs, hoping for a new life. But Yasser reported them missing and called Patricia nonstop. Eventually, she agreed to return to Texas. Amina told her aunt she didn't want to go back, but the family returned on New Year's Eve anyway. Patricia later said she believed they would attend a party and finish school before moving back to Oklahoma. On January 1st, Yasser asked his daughters to join him for dinner. Instead, he drove them to a secluded area and shot them multiple times around 7:30 p.m. Amina died instantly, but Sarah managed to call 911, pleading for help and naming her father as the shooter before passing away. Police later found the sisters in Yasser's abandoned taxi. He had vanished, taking his weapon and savings. For 12 years, Yasser evaded capture. In 2014, the FBI added him to their 10 most wanted list with a $100,000 reward. In 2017, police found DNA evidence linking him to an apartment rented by his son, Islam. Then in August 2020, after years of surveillance, Yasser was arrested in Justin, Texas. Islam and Yasser's brother, Yassain, were also arrested for helping him hide. At his 2022 trial, prosecutors presented 50 witnesses and played Sarah's desperate 911 call. Yasser showed no emotion. He claimed innocence, saying his daughters were attacked by others and that the case was politically motivated. The jury found him guilty, sentencing him to life in prison without parole. In 2024, Yasser appeared on court TV, still insisting he was framed. He denied all wrongdoing and claimed his years of hiding proved his innocence. Islam and Yassain were both sentenced to federal prison for helping him avoid arrest. The loss of Amina and Sarah remains one of the most heartbreaking family tragedies in modern Texas history. 2 young lives destroyed by the very person who was supposed to protect them. It was April 10, 2018, in Cincinnati, Ohio. 16-year-old Kyle Plush, a sophomore at Seven Hills School, was getting ready for a tennis match that evening. He was known for his big smile and sense of humor. Friends described him as caring, smart, and always eager to help others. He competed in math and Latin contests and had a bright future ahead. But that Tuesday afternoon, an accident inside his family's van led to a chain of failures that cost him his life. Around 3:05 p.m., Kyle went to his family's gold 2004 Honda Odyssey in the school parking lot to grab his tennis gear. As he leaned into the back of the van, the third-row seat suddenly flipped backward, trapping him upside down. The heavy seat pressed against his chest, making it hard to breathe or move. Despite being trapped, Kyle stayed calm. Using Siri on his phone, he called 911 at 3:14 p.m. "Help, help, help! I'm stuck in my van outside Seven Hills parking lot," he said. The audio was muffled because his phone wasn't near his face. Dispatcher McGee could barely hear him, but caught the words, "Seven Hills." Kyle shouted, "If you don't send help, I'm gonna die soon," before the call disconnected at 3:17 p.m. The dispatchers replayed the call, trying to make out what was said. They guessed it came from Seven Hills School on Red Bank Road and sent officers Brian Brazil and Edsel Osborne at 3:23 p.m. The call was logged as a woman trapped in a van near a thrift store by the school. 3 minutes later, officers arrived. The lot was busy with about 25 vehicles parked nearby. A deputy, Allen, also checked the area but didn't get out of his car. He looked around from inside his patrol vehicle and left after seeing nothing unusual. He even tried calling Kyle's number, but it went to voicemail. Meanwhile, Kyle was still trapped. People walked past his van, unaware he was inside fighting to breathe. At 3:35 p.m., Kyle made another 911 call. This time his voice was weaker. "This is not a joke. I'm trapped inside a gold Honda Odyssey van. Tell my mom I love her if I die," he said. This call went to a different dispatcher, Amber Smith. She couldn't hear him clearly and thought it was a silent call. Her computer froze, preventing her from entering his details or updating officers already at the scene. She disconnected and called back, but again it went to voicemail. The critical information that Kyle was in a gold Honda Odyssey was never sent to officers. At 3:37 p.m., the officers closed the case, assuming there was nothing to find. Kyle's van was just yards away. He remained trapped for nearly 6 hours, slowly losing the ability to breathe as the seat pressed against his chest. When Kyle didn't show up for his tennis match, his mother Jill grew worried. She used the Find My iPhone app and saw that his phone was still at school. His father, Ron, rushed there and found Kyle unresponsive in the van shortly before 9 p.m. First responders arrived but couldn't revive him. The coroner ruled the cause as asphyxia due to chest compression. Honda confirmed no prior recalls on that model's seats. Cincinnati Police Chief Elliot Isaac later said something went terribly wrong. The 911 operator was placed on leave, but internal reviews found only minor violations. City officials criticized the investigation, saying it ignored major problems in the system. In 2019, Kyle's parents filed a wrongful death lawsuit. It revealed that the city's 911 center had been struggling with staff shortages, poor training, and broken equipment. In 2021, Cincinnati agreed to pay the Plush family $6 million and promised major improvements, including a new system called Smart 911. It allows callers to share personal details like their car model or home address before emergencies. Kyle's mother said he would have wanted change so this never happens again. 3 years later, staffing issues still continued, but Kyle's name became linked to reforming emergency response systems. His friends remembered him as funny, kind, and full of life, a boy who did everything right but was failed by the system meant to save him. It was January 17, 2008, in Northport, Florida. Denise Amber Lee, a 21-year-old mother of two, was spending the afternoon at home with her sons, 2-year-old Noah and 6-month-old Adam. Her husband Nathan worked 3 jobs so Denise could stay home with the children. That morning, around 11:21 a.m., she called him to talk about the warm weather. She said she had opened the windows. That would be their last conversation. Denise was the daughter of Rick Goff, a sergeant with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. She was known for her kindness and devotion to family. She always wore a simple $40 heart-shaped ring Nathan had given her on their first date. Around 2 p.m., a neighbor noticed a dark green 1994 Chevrolet Camaro pull into the Lees' driveway. The car belonged to 36-year-old Michael King, an unemployed plumber from the same town. He had no connection to Denise, but that day, he made a devastating choice. When Nathan came home at 3:30 p.m., something felt off. The windows were closed again, and both children were in the same crib. Denise was gone. Nathan called 911 right away, then called his father-in-law. Within minutes, a massive search began involving more than 300 officers, helicopters, and K-9 units. But Denise was already in danger. King had taken her from her home, bound her with duct tape, and forced her into his car. He drove her to his house, then later to his cousin Harold Muxlow's home, where he borrowed a shovel, gas can, and flashlight. His cousin had no idea what was happening. At 6:14 p.m., Denise managed to take King's cell phone and called 911. Her voice was calm but desperate. She begged to see her family again while trying to speak in a way that wouldn't alert King. He eventually realized something was wrong and demanded his phone back. Before the call ended, Denise said softly, "Help me." Sadly, King's phone was prepaid, so it couldn't be traced. Denise gave clues, but she was blindfolded and couldn't identify her exact location. Around 6:30 p.m., a woman named Jane Kowalski stopped at a traffic light on U.S. Route 41 when she heard screaming from a nearby car, a green Camaro. She thought it was a child and called 911. She followed the car for 9 minutes, giving detailed directions. But her call was routed to the wrong county's dispatch center. Instead of forwarding it to the active search team, the operator wrote the details on paper. Patrol cars were within a mile, but no one was informed. The next day, Kowalski saw the news about a missing woman and realized it had been Denise. Her 911 call had never been sent to the right department. 2 dispatchers were later suspended for not following proper procedures. At 9:15 p.m. that same night, police stopped King in his green Camaro. He was wet and had a gas can and shovel in his car. They found Denise's ring, but she wasn't there. 2 days later, Denise's body was discovered in a shallow grave nearby. Evidence confirmed that she had been fatally harmed and buried. Investigators later found a hair tie and duct tape with strands of Denise's hair during searches of King's home and vehicle. Michael King was arrested and charged. During the 2009 trial, prosecutors presented DNA, duct tape, and Denise's 911 call, which was played in court. The jury found King guilty of all charges and on September 4, 2009, sentenced him to death. Denise's case exposed serious problems in the 911 system: untrained operators, weak coordination, and poor GPS tracking for mobile calls. In response, Florida passed the Denise Amber Lee Act, setting training standards for 911 dispatchers. Nathan Lee later founded the Denise Amber Lee Foundation to improve emergency response nationwide. As of 2025, Michael King remains on death row. Denise's sons, now teenagers, speak about their mother's legacy, hoping that her story continues to protect others. "We're a part of her," Adam said. "People hearing from us can understand how amazing she was and how big the loss truly is." It was August 22, 2024, in Mobile, Alabama. 33-year-old father of 2, Taylor Rollins, was at home at the Charleston apartment homes on Solly Road with his girlfriend, 31-year-old Jennifer Heathcote, and his 2 children, a 9-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. It was a normal Thursday evening, but within hours, everything would change for his children forever. Taylor was known for his love for his kids and his close bond with his mother, being her only child. Friends described him as funny, caring, and full of energy. But behind closed doors, Taylor and Jennifer's relationship was unstable. Police records showed a history of domestic disputes. Both had prior charges, and just months earlier they'd been in a physical altercation in a bar parking lot. Jennifer failed to appear in court for that case. That night, both had been drinking. Jennifer said she had 2 beers while Taylor had a 12-pack. At some point, they began arguing and told the kids to go to their rooms. The children obeyed, hoping it would pass like other times. But this time was different. According to investigators, the children had seen Jennifer threaten Taylor with a knife before. That night, she used it. The 9-year-old girl was in her room when she heard noises from the kitchen, loud and different from past arguments. She ran out, saw something terrible, and quickly called 911. At 7:40 p.m., the dispatcher answered as the frightened girl said, "My stepmom hurt my dad." The dispatcher asked her to repeat herself, and she confirmed it. Then came her desperate plea, "Please come quick, my daddy is going to die." During the call, prosecutors later said Jennifer's voice could be heard in the background, urging the child to say it wasn't her who had done it, trying to make her lie to the operator. Moments later, Jennifer made her own 911 call. In the background, Taylor could be heard gasping, saying he couldn't breathe. Jennifer claimed they'd been attacked and that the person ran away, but the story didn't match her stepdaughter's earlier call. The child had said her stepmother stabbed her father. The children weren't the only witnesses. Neighbor Catelyn Tuggle and her husband, who lived next door, heard the argument through the shared kitchen wall. Around 7:20 p.m., Catelyn heard Jennifer scream, "No, no, no," and went to check. She found Jennifer on the phone with 911 while Taylor lay on the couch barely breathing. Catelyn called her mother-in-law, Kim Hunt, a nurse, who came to help perform CPR. When Kim started compressions, she discovered the stab wound. While they tried to save him, Catelyn took the children to another room to protect them from seeing more. When paramedics arrived, Taylor was pronounced dead. The autopsy revealed a stab wound to the upper left chest that pierced his lung, heart, and aorta, a deep, forceful injury. Jennifer was arrested the next day and charged with intentional harm resulting in death. Her lawyer claimed self-defense, saying Taylor had attacked her. Jennifer's father supported her, saying his daughter had suffered in the relationship, but police found no bruises or signs of struggle, and her story kept changing. At first, she claimed a stranger stabbed Taylor. Later, she said she had acted to protect herself after being thrown across the room. When questioned about the inconsistency, Jennifer said she lied during the 911 call because she thought Taylor would survive. Investigators didn't believe her. They pointed to the 911 recordings, her attempt to coach the child, and the lack of evidence of self-defense. Jennifer was denied bond due to the severity of the charge and a pending case from the bar fight. During the October 1, 2024 hearing, Investigators confirmed that both children witnessed parts of the event. Prosecutors announced they were considering upgrading the charge to a capital offense because it happened in front of minors. On April 1, 2025, the charge was officially upgraded. Jennifer, now 32 years old, faced life in prison if convicted. Taylor's obituary asked people to talk openly about domestic violence and recognize the warning signs before it's too late. 2 young children lost their father that night. They watched him take his final breaths, moments that will stay with them forever.